Okay, hey there guys, so I guess that last video is a complete lie and I completely blew off posting over the off season, but that means we're straight back into another season here, and it's going to be season 44. Our first war is up against DSVG. This war should be fairly winnable for us, and you'll see the score at the end. I ended up fighting at the end of the second day, or the first full day, so fought late, pretty recently tonight, like hour or two before recording this, so fairly, not like late, but later in the day. So my fights, I'm going to have 4 on the path and then 2 mini-bosses, so for 6 fights. Have a couple interesting fights and a couple interesting nodes, because obviously this new map and all the new changes, the more I'm looking at this map, like the more I can like wrap my head around it, but that like first day or two, it was just so ugly looking. I get it a little bit better now. The paths are all like the same, and I actually kind of like the change where those mini-bosses are after, instead of like if you're the guy who gets stuck on those mini-bosses, and then you're like, oh, I have to move before like 12, like, and you're trying to pigeonhole yourself and work your day around it. Right there at the start, it took me a while to get going because I had just done a couple things and I was making sure my phone and my fingers weren't like wet or dirty or anything, because I've had that issue in the past, so I always like test it out, especially when I feel like I've done something where it might be wet or dirty. So I'm going to start out with popping an invul boost. I have some bigger boosts going. Salty asks for big boosts. I mean, like, that's what you get when you're trying to play top 3 in war, so you always put on big boosts because at the end of the season your deaths matter whether or not you won the war. So here we're going into the new sugar pill season. I actually have a rank 4 void now. I've had this void forever. Like, I've had this void for so long and I've just never given him awakening gems or anything. Just never been like the biggest void fan, but honestly I'm liking him a fair bit right now playing him. I like trying to have a bit more of an aggressive Void play style, because I really hated before when I'd watch people play Void and they wouldn't time things very well. It would really bug me. So for this Wiccan, so if you guys don't know the new global sugar pill, every time you make contact with them, they have a chance of placing a placebo on you. It's a very high chance. And the attacker tactic is you're immune to placebos and you place a wither when you're immune, and then you can also place a slow on heavy because they gain an unstoppable. Which, it's an important thing to note, that unstoppable can trigger from your deck still, because it doesn't make you buff immune, which is like sometimes really weird feeling that you're not actually like fully buff immune, you're only like partially buff immune, so it's a little bit of an odd interaction there. Not like super weird, but right here, playing it a little bit slow just for a second, so that way the Fear of the Void timer will kick in, backing off, trying to wait for the Fear of the Void to trigger. It does, and those withers are starting to do a lot because of that Fear of the Void. I have the heal reversal going, and that's my first Void fight in a season war. He's pretty fun. I don't know. I don't like dislike playing Void. I never did. It was just always like not wanting to rank him up, but I think I'm going to enjoy using him a fair bit this season. If this war is any indication, I'll be using him a fair bit. I have a couple other global attackers, so we'll see who I end up using as well. So this is now my rank 5 Nimrod. I had him rank 5 last season, but because of the global ban, because of the tactic, he was on defense last season. So my strategy here is I wanted to play as aggressive as I can for that first bit. As you can see, I'm getting up 16 armors. So I guess not as aggressive. I wanted to play as precisely. I wanted to get a lot of armor ups if I could. And then the other thing is, until I got to this point in the fight where I could use my SP2, I wanted to make sure that I didn't trigger my blitz mode and remove her prowess, so I timed it where she wouldn't have any prowess, hopefully, or if she did, she'd only have 1, and then I was immediately switching back into my armor form where I'm not going to be removing the prowess, and that made that fight very easy, as long as you remember just to switch back into your armor mode as quick as you can. I think that's going to be the key for Nimrod down path 6, is you want to time it so that way you transfer back your modes as quickly as you can so they don't gain power. But honestly, he kind of blitzes through those paths like so fast that it almost doesn't even matter the change. And I play so terribly here. So terribly for this fight. I throw a heavy instead of comboing, so he actually gains the spider nonsense, and so I'm a little bit worried there. I meant to have triggered my unstoppable by now, as I typically do. But at this point, I'm like, well, actually, I can't. I need him to throw his SP1 so that way I shrug off the armor breaks and stuff. And in just a second here, I think I'm about to get a taunt on me as well. During the combo, I actually end up getting a taunt as well. So I finally trigger Frenzy, and now I'm going to be unblockable immune because I'm Mole Man, but he will get unblockable. Actually, no, he still won't, because I'll only have 2 debuffs on me, right? So he wouldn't even get unblockable here. Why am I such a coward? But so here, I'm just going to make a decision, because I'm against my wall against Spider-Ham, and I hate being against the wall Spider-Ham. I've died there in the past. Died or clutched it? I'm trying to remember which fight that was. But, so I just decided I'm just going to hit him. I'm going to hit him up to an SP3. I have an SP3 Protect boost on, so I think I also thought I had an invulnerability hit left, but I did not. I actually had used it, so that was a little bit of a risk, but I have class advantage against a lower attack champion and all of that. So this fight, I was not like super worried, but I was a little bit worried about this fight going into it, if I'm being honest. So she's also tactic, so anytime I dex, because I'm not going to have the neutralize on me, anytime I dex, she can gain unstoppable, so I'm trying to mix in some heavies. I took this node during off season with another champion. So you have the heal block debuff, and then if you saw that there, painful retreat. So every 10 hits, it removes the power sting from you, just like Void would with his debuffs, right? So I want to try to get up to like 8 hits here is what I'm going to do. 8 or 9 hits, it gets her up to a bar of power, so I'm like, okay, perfect. She just starts throwing heavies. She's just going to start throwing these heavies. Just throwing them. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But then she actually gets unstoppable. I get very, very lucky there that she doesn't counter me. And here's where the fight's about to get bad. So I'm like, okay, I've just got to throw it. I got to get space. I got to get a wither up. I've got to get like debuffs going. So I talked to someone in my alliance actually about that specific part of the fight. If you get up to her SP2, punish her heavy during a different part of her heavy, because it's the final portion of her heavy that gives her the unblockable. The withers remove the dimensions, but it doesn't remove the passive dimension effect, the unblockable on the special. And right here's where the fight goes like even worse. I'll talk about that in just a second. But if, because of the withers with the global champions, if you punish her heavy during the heavy, like where you typically don't want to do it because it gives her the damage back, you actually remove the damage back, and then you don't get an unblockable SP2 from America Chavez. Now onto the unblockable portion. The way this timer works is, I guess they're both on a 10-second timer. If you watch them, they match up. And the way the game engines works, I guess, is the new power sting ticks before the previous one expires. So you have 3 debuffs on you for a fraction of a second. A fraction of a second. And because of that, she gets unblockable. And now you're facing an unblockable America Chavez who puts a power sting on you. Right here, I just want to make sure I don't make a mistake, because that would be really, really unfortunate if you mess up your entire alliance's war plan because you went to the wrong node. So this is going to be Mojo here. I don't remember what node this is. It's like 40 or something like that. But I don't know if I check the nodes. So resistance is futile, and the recovery nodes are the important parts. So resistance is futile. Whenever you're immune, he's going to gain a little power gain buff. And because I'm immune to the placebos, he's gaining power gains. But because I have the withers, it cancels each other out, if not like a little bit in my favor. But because I'm void, the second I get a petrify, I'm going to start reversing his power gain pretty significantly here. And so this Mojo is actually going to become pretty simple here, as long as I don't dex and get a degen during his anti-life field, because he ended up getting dash back as his first prompt, which is really, really unfortunate. And right here, I'm trying to play it very, very slow, because I don't want him to get up to his second charge, because from there is when you start panicking. So I'm able to avoid that. I'm going to throw another SP1 here, because it's now at charge a heavy attack. And at this point, I have the 5 withers going, I have my 2 agility debuffs, a slow, I have the petrify, fatigues, I'm going crazy. I trigger my fear of the void timer, want to get that started, and I want to get up to an SP1 as quick as I can here. I'm okay even stunning here because he's at only 0 charges. This is going to push him up to 1. And as you can see, because of the fear of the void and the wither, and then I get another petrify, look at the power drain on this guy. He's power locked in this fight after this point. It took me a while to get up to this point in the fight, but at that point you're reversing, I think it was like 1,000 damage every second, or every tick. I was reversing his power like crazy. That node is just void candy. Because it's also personal space regen, it's not even like the aggression regen, where if you're like backing off it does it. You power drain him, and then you're playing aggressive into that because of the power drain. So if you notice, I have 15 little digits up there. A lot of those are profiles and like name change and titles I can equip. But 7 of those would be mastery points that I took out of proficiencies to be able to put suicides on for this fight. One, I didn't actually realize which hazard shift this was, because there's now 2 hazard shift minis at the end of the map, because all the mini bosses just got moved to the end of the map instead of the middle. So this was the link from section 1 to section 2 after the middle part of the map, right? That conflictor hazard shift. And I thought for some reason this was going to be poison incinerate, but so it's just conflictor. I was supposed to have suicides on for this fight, which if you watch, suicides would have one-shot him, which is really, really frustrating. But I'm just going to decide to play it slow, and because of the conflictor, I'm going to give him debuffs so his power goes back up. And because his power goes back up, I'm just going to chill during his unstoppable, and when he throws his second special there, his SP1, I was able just to go and finish him off. So now you can kind of see the score here. The war obviously isn't over yet, so I don't want to like talk any trash and then us just like die. Plus I don't like talking trash. Pretty solid war score from them so far. Like, it's not the best score, obviously, but it's a pretty good start. It's also the start of the season with a new tactic. People are dying a lot more than they typically would, and that always happens around this time when there's a new tactic, especially with the new map and all of that. So, GG's to them. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this win. I'll post the final score in the comments or something tomorrow, I think. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for coming back this season. Also, I was having some computer issues during this video, so I'm sorry if there's any like audio or visual errors, but I just want to get this posted today before I forget about this. So I'll see you guys soon though. Bye.